All right, welcome everyone to the Ashes to Ashes podcast. So today is a very special episode. I'm here with another host, Kirsty, as you all know. Unfortunately, the other hosts couldn't make it, but we have a very special guest today. We have the Canadian earthquake researcher. Now, my name's George, and the other host with me is called Kirsty. So what should we call you?
My name is Brent.
Brent. Okay, we'll call you Brent. Great. I have a list of questions for you, just to start off the podcast, I guess.
Okay.
The first question is, how would you introduce yourself to someone?
How would I introduce myself to someone?
Yeah, in relation to the earthquake and earthquake research you do.
Oh, oh, I am pretty much a regular citizen that just was in the right place at the right time to make this discovery, and that had no background in this field before these hints showed up in late year 2019. So that's what it was. I was before just into a hobby of learning about the Earth, but only self-studying and no formal education in geology. And because of my very strong interest in researching anything about Earth sciences on my own, I just lucked out being the person that investigated and discovered this thing while I was in Mindanao, Philippines, just north of Australia.
That's awesome.
So that's my background on this.
Great.
Yes.
And I like how you mentioned just north of Australia, because for those new viewers, that's where we live.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Australia.
In Melbourne, yeah. So I'll start my next question with, what is the biggest finding that you have made? Or the biggest discovery?
The whole thing is the main thing I have been exposing, which is the blocking of plates. And later on, when we get to the detailed things, I'll get on to something that it's causing in Australia, because it's doing something really suspicious in eastern Australia, which I guess we'll get to later. So the whole thing is blocking of tectonic plates, which is causing a very noticeable change in earthquake patterns, and I am absolutely certain will lead to a globally catastrophic earthquake, like a cataclysmic event. So that's the whole main thing here.
Yeah, and for those of the viewers who don't know as much about earth sciences, like I don't know much myself, so what is plate blocking and how does it work?
So basically what happened is two of the biggest tectonic plates in the world got stuck. They got stuck. One is supposed to, the Pacific plate is supposed to slide under the Asian plate, officially called the Eurasian plate, that contains Asia. But it got stuck somewhere, and I've observed that it got stuck somewhere actually not far from Australia. It's like pinned up against Australia, and it getting stuck has caused a gridlocking of the tectonic plates around the world, because the two biggest plates got stuck, and so it's disrupting the movement of all the tectonic plates in the world. And this getting stuck of plates is causing a massive accumulation of energy, because the mantle keeps moving underneath the plates. So that's what's happening.
Okay.
So did that work?
That worked perfectly. That was a really good explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes.
That was great. The next question that I would have is, what sort of let you know that plate blocking is happening? Were there more earthquakes or less earthquakes happening somewhere, or?
Well, actually, the whole timeline of evidence is very interesting, because it started with smaller evidence. The very first evidence was a cluster of earthquakes, which made me discover it. So I was living in Mindanao, which is like a couple thousand kilometers north of Australia, and it's not supposed to get earthquakes like this at all. And then a big one showed up, and then another one, and another, and another. And I knew it was really unusual, and that made me put together a hypothesis that the cause of this is two plates starting to squeeze together where those earthquakes are happening, like unusual pressure from plates being squeezed together. And the amazing thing is that after I made that like hypothesis, I noticed there is a decline in earthquake activity all around it. So that like the choke point of the plates produced that cluster, and all around those plates, like around Asia and stuff, there has been a consistent drop in earthquakes. Anyone can verify this. You can check the USGS records and see earthquake history, and you'll note that all across Asia there has been a massive drop in earthquake, like major earthquakes, which is basically 6.7 plus. Those are major earthquakes. These have been in a very severe decline over the last 5.5 years. And and interestingly enough, starting in the last couple of months, I've noticed a brand new pattern showing up that just solidifies what I have been tracking the whole time. There are now huge gaps starting to show up, uh, it's starting in a it started near where the blocking is. You can go like a couple days where there's almost no activity and it's suspiciously quiet,
Wow.
and now we're starting to notice a global decline in earthquakes. And just now, like a few minutes ago, I noticed that there's a really suspiciously low frequency of earthquakes, 4.5 and above, everywhere from Bolivia in South America all the way up to Mexico. It's way down. So,
Wow.
so pretty much you can check most areas around the world, and you're going to notice that earthquake totals for medium and large earthquakes, it's really in a decline now. It's really declining, especially in the last month. So that's the main evidence that we can see now that plates are blocked.
Yeah. And I'll put a link to that. Did you say USGS website? I'll put a link
Yes,
to that in the
yeah. So
description.
U.S. Yes, U.S. Yes, like right now, I decided to go on and check. So what's the evidence that we're seeing now? You look on the map. Tertremo is the website that you use to very easily get a view of the last 24-hour earthquakes. If you look at it right now, you're going to notice that there are like almost no blue circles all around Australia. Australia should be surrounded by blue circles. And a lot of the time now they're not showing up because the plates are not moving. That's actually what's happening. Yes.
Interesting.
So like right now it's an example. If you go on there, you'll see Papua New Guinea, which is just north of Australia, all the way east to Vanuatu, New Zealand, most of Indonesia, nothing. And then just right north of Australia, there's an orange, and then there's a couple orange, and like so this is not normal.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to compare is that so in a normal time you should see a couple orange, which is like five magnitude range earthquakes, and a whole bunch of blue circles, which is the 4 range, like 4.1 and up, 4.1 to 4.9. There should be a lot of them. Those are indicative that the plates are moving and act like they're like scratches, or they're like footprints of the movement of plates. And them declining and becoming more and more scarce is a direct, very visible effect of the plates completely stopping moving. So that's what we're seeing right now.
That's interesting. I was going to say a couple of months ago, I'm not sure exactly when, but earlier this year, we had an earthquake in Melbourne, Australia. It wasn't like too serious. I don't know what the exact magnitude was, but apparently it was the biggest one in 30 years or something. We don't get earthquakes that much though.
Yes, so I did some checking on that, and I made some interesting observations on it. That is actually the biggest ever recorded of that size anywhere near Melbourne. Or anywhere in the state of Victoria. There has not been any even remotely near Melbourne of that size or bigger. And I discovered the size of that. I discovered that. The cause of that. I determined it has to be caused by something about pressure. So basically, why did it happen now while I'm investigating a plate blocking and not before? Because before there was not this level of pressure, and now there's a growing pressure that they've never had before this blocking, and it produced an earthquake, therefore in an area that normally wouldn't get one. So it's a pressure, it's pressure provoked event, and it's not like it's far from a plate boundary or anything. And I guess this could bring us to the other thing. Well, or maybe we should hold that till after. I still have the other thing to mention, Eastern Australia, but maybe we'll get through all the other things you're going to ask, and then I want to bring up something very important about Queensland. Well, I guess we'll get to that after your other things.
Yeah. My next question would be, what are the long-term effects of plate blocking, and what do you think will happen because of this?
What we're gonna pretty much see is just the signs keep growing and growing. That plates look tighter and tighter. Like it's just things are gonna look slow and like really like lack of movement, and it's just the signs of the plates being stuck and motionless are just gonna keep growing and getting worse over the coming weeks and months. And it's just going to keep going up until a point that it finally overwhelms the blocking and that plate boundary's ability to hold out, and it's going to go boom, and it's just going to produce a magnificent rupture. And so I'm expecting a 20,000 plus kilometer long rupture that's going to start from the blocking and all the way up to Japan, and then all the way down to New Zealand and across to Indonesia. It's going to be a massive, super massive rupture that this thing is going to provoke. And some interesting math I've gotten. A Japanese study states that you only need a rupture length of 3,000 kilometers, like from Tokyo up to Russia. That is enough to produce a magnitude 10 earthquake, which would be felt for 1 hour duration, and it's bigger than the Chile earthquake in South America, which was in year 1960. It was smaller than that thing I just told you in the study. A magnitude 9.5 only is borderline felt worldwide. So what that means is the magnitude 10, which would require a 3,000 kilometer rupture, would be felt worldwide, and shaking would take an hour to stop. And now we move to how big this is. This is going to be a lot more than 3,000. I said it's going to be about 20,000 or maybe more kilometer length. So the math would then suggest it's going to be very strongly felt worldwide, and the duration is going to be more than 1 hour. It's going to be a very severely cataclysmic plate rupture, global seismic event.
Wow.
So that's the result that I'm expecting.
Yeah. The other question about this is, when do you think this will happen? Do you have like an accurate prediction, or is it hard to tell?
The most important hint I'm using to figure out when this could come is the acceleration of the signs. Like, for instance, anytime before January 20th of this year, the signs of this thing were not evolving fast. But since January 20th of this year, going right up to now, I've noticed a rapid acceleration and rapid development of the signs of plates locking and tightening up. So that gives me a clue that we seem to be relatively moving up very quickly to the event, and I'm thinking that it will take no more than double that period I just said. So that was 8 months. So maximum 16 months, I think it will take for it to run its course. Because if it's accelerating this fast, the signs of plate tightening, I doubt it could go on more than 16 months of this more recent rapid plate tightening and locking up signs. So 16 months?
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
16 months from now
that,
or 16 months
like,
from January?
so, yeah, 16 months from now is
Okay.
when although, like, I pretty much expect that, like, yeah, like by the end of next year, sometime by the end of next year is when I estimate that, like, I could be wrong in estimation, but this is my educated guess based on the fact that it is really accelerating. The signs are really accelerating. That gives me a hint. We must be moving in pretty quickly to the final result of the disaster. So yeah, by end of next year, I estimate for that thing to happen.
Okay. And you mentioned Japan, Indonesia, and New Zealand. Will those areas be hit pretty
Uh,
hard by this event? And also, what other areas will be hit very hard?
yeah. Well, the place I told you, that's where the fault rupture will run, because an earthquake is what the anatomy of an earthquake is where it ruptures, where the crack runs. So those will be, of course, hardest hit because the heaviest shaking will take place right along the rupture point, and then but the actual event will be so massive it will be felt worldwide. Anywhere away from that main rupture zone will be almost uniform. Like anywhere from like India to even Australia, South America, and Europe, it's going to get the same global hit from the shake. You're not going to be able to escape this. Like I already explained in the math, this is way over the threshold for an earthquake to be felt worldwide. So it's going to be high intensity around the whole planet. So it's going to damage buildings everywhere. The more, the less earthquake prepared and like with regulations and stuff a place is, the more severe the damage. So if you go, so Australia, I think may have some. I don't know how the earthquake construction regulations are in Australia. If it's not built with earthquake resistance and regulations, then it'll be among those areas of the world that are going to have very severe destruction from the event. Places I know, like Miami, Hong Kong, New York City, places like that are going to be in absolute ruins. They're not built for any of this. This is a massive cataclysm coming. They're not built to consider a global cataclysm. So those buildings are going to collapse. There's going to be massive collapse and damage to build all the cities in the world without strong earthquake construction regulations. And liquefaction is going to be another problem. I also I highlighted which area of Australia is going to get hit the worst, and it's going to be Queensland. Queensland, Australia will be the hardest hit because
Okay.
a combination of like all the worst factors will make Queensland be hit the worst. The liquefaction, because of the type of land that the cities are on, like Gold Coast, the proximity to the rupture, so they get the tsunami as well, and I doubt they're built for earthquake resistance also. So it's going to be a huge ruin in Queensland.
Yeah.
So that's my overview of like where it'll be damaged the most.
Oh, that's a shame. All my favorite theme parks are there. Oh well. My next question for you was, what generally would be the best areas to stay during this 1 hour or more of shaking? Like, would it be inland or on hills or something like that?
Anywhere inland. So rural places that are inland. An ideal place would be in a single level home. So no two-story or three-story homes. Only a single level home out in a rural area um, like maybe more than 30 meters above sea level, or I'd say to be safe, maybe even 50 plus meters above sea level is extra safe. So most of Australia and many other countries have this area. The problem is so many cities are built in the worst areas, the areas that I suggest are the worst. But so much of the country is safer. The whole rural interior area is much safer. Not there's not much going to happen out in those interior rural areas. So that's the safe place to be if you can.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Great. And we can expect, of course, there will be other problems with like if such an event happens, then infrastructure will be completely ruined worldwide, right?
Yeah, infrastructure is going to be ruined. Uh, like ports, that'll be the problem. There's going to be there's something that's called sage waves. I don't know how you pronounce them, but it's like what you see in a swimming pool if there's an earthquake when the water starts to shift back and forth, and then when it goes, it sends a huge amount of water on the side, but on a big scale. So that's the effect. It's going to the water is going to wobble back and forth against the coast as an effect of the earthquake. So anywhere, it doesn't matter if you're near the epicenter or like the Pacific Ocean is where the epicenter will be, but anywhere in the world is going to get this. So it's going to send waves right into the ports. So it's going to destroy ports, and so many plants, nuclear plants and industrial zones are built right on reclaimed land or other flat land. All that's going to be ruined. That's surely going to be wrecked. The land is going to distort. The water is going to pull in. It's probably going to go up a few meters at least height of the seawater when it pulls in. So coastal infrastructure, pipes will be shifted and ruined, and power lines, of course, power facilities, a lot of industrial facilities will be wrecked. So yeah, all that stuff is not going to hold out at all in this. So that too, yes.
That answers my question greatly. Thank you. And
Yeah.
another question is, do you think there are other people like professional seismologists or whatever that know about this but are being told to not say anything about it?
That's exactly what I'm trying to argue that I'm seeing with this. Yes, I think um, my focus lately has been a lot on Dutch since there is enough signs that there's something weird going on. He built his popularity through exposure, interaction. Comments were disabled back in the summer, well, Northern Hemisphere summer, a few months ago. Comments are gone on the videos and on his YouTube videos, and now he's barely showing up. You see so many comments on Twitter asking why it's so strange, the inactivity. So basically, looking at the top earthquake blogger, the top established one, you see that behavior and it looks suspicious. That you can just see as a hint. That's just one of the hints to see that it could be censored. There is likely to be massive censorship of this. So then going on to seismologists, you're going to get some pretty ridiculous responses. Like people are asking, and then you get this robotic response of, "I can confirm that there is nothing unusual about earthquakes or the plates or anything," and then it's done. They leave them like that. There's no explanation. They're being tight-lipped
Wow.
in a really suspicious way. There's no explanations, nothing. So yeah, it seems quite controversial on the scale like COVID, which is pretty controversial thing. So yeah, I think this could be a pretty big thing that we have going on
Yeah.
that is being covered up. Anyone could probably try to investigate and look for signs that they're not um, talking about patterns that we're actually seeing. So yeah, so that's what we're seeing. I think it's a cover up. So
Perfect.
that is that.
Oh, I don't mean the cover ups are not perfect. I just meant your answer was like really good. That's all. Um, what I was going to ask next about that is why do you think this cover up is happening? Do you think it is to prevent panic, or is there another reason?
That I don't really know. Like that's the topic that's come up many times, and people give um, their idea. The most common is to avoid panic. So I don't know. It almost seems like they may be putting quite a bit of effort to keep this covered up. I don't know why they would do that, because many people, even like the hotel staff where I've stayed and other people like that, have all said, "Oh, it looks like it's just to avoid panic," but there could be other agendas out there because it's a big event. Other people have discussed how anything big, if it can affect the economy, if it can affect a lot of things, there's an interest in controlling it, and controlling it could mean completely hiding it. So I don't know. There could be. It's not really clear. There's no way to really know why they actually want to hide this.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good point with the economy about how would something like the
Yeah,
stock market
economy.
just completely go to crap if this was revealed?
Yeah, yeah, and also of course, like knowing about a big event is an advantage to the few when the majority don't know about it. Like that, there's an advantage to know about something big. That's just, I think that may be another factor. I think. Yeah, so that also.
Yeah, we see that kind of behavior a lot on the podcast, so that's very possible.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I definitely think that, and the phrase "don't let a big or don't let a good disaster go to waste" is actually a well-known phrase. So
Yeah.
I think that could go. They're probably using that. This is like the biggest disaster of all. It's looking. So they're definitely not going to let it go to waste. And I guess I suppose that not letting it go to waste in this um, situation is not revealing it. I guess that's maybe what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah. My next question is, well, since you are the person who, in my eyes at least, and a lot of the viewers who watch this, have discovered it, what would you name this event? You know, that's like a formality
oh,
kind of thing.
actually, I received requests for that, and I have already done it. So I call it the Culebra Event, and
Right.
others have already started it too. And it seemed to have spread outside of Twitter a little bit, at least. I call it Culebra Event. If you look in Spanish, Culebra is snake in Spanish, and I named it for. It seemed to be good. The name sounds good, and like a snake is long, it winds around, and it's silent at first, and then it's deadly very quickly. So it kind of just worked well. That's what Culebra is, means snake. So I call it the Culebra event.
Great.
So that's that.
We'll put that in the video, and yeah, so the Canadian earthquake researcher does have a Twitter, and we will put that in the description for you to follow.
Yes.
Do you have any more comments or anything you'd like to bring up? Because that's where my questions end for now.
Yes. So what I was going to bring up about what happened in Australia, a user reported that pretty much right around the exact time in the second half of September that I reported that this really strange declines in earthquakes and plate tightening started. This person started noticing that their land started to do something that they never ever saw happen before. The cracks started to form, the land is starting to deform, the house cracks and all like corners and edges of the house are starting to form, and it's making loud noises. And today, well, I guess it was yesterday, Australia time, yesterday. They reported it was the worst yet. Many times lately, they keep telling me now it's worse than even it was the last time. Now this time they reported a really frightening shake, scared the dog. So the house shook. There was a loud noise and more cracks, bigger, even bigger cracks than they ever saw before, and the existing cracks growing bigger. So basically, the land and everything is shifting and destabilizing really quickly. So now on to the next thing. My explanation: why do I think this is happening? It looks like the Earth's surface is literally buckling under the force of the blocking up plates. The sheer force of this, and with the fact that Australia is actually relatively close to the blocking, it's just southeast of it, not too far away, and they're on a mountain, so it looks like it's starting to buckle and distort the land under the sheer force. They said it never happened before. Everything was normal. The house had no problems before. Even the road has cracks coming out on it, and they showed the uneven ground. Now their car doesn't park evenly on it too. So this is a very visible sign of the sudden rapid distortion of the land, which I directly link to the blocking happening. And then so basic like evidence, going back, if you check uh, earthquake history, like all around the Philippine plate, you'll notice that all around the Philippine plate, which runs from the southern Philippines to Japan, that plate once had very frequent major earthquakes, and you notice a very clear trend. If you check through the history and check over the earthquakes, where, when, the size, you'll notice a really steep decline that started back in the 90s, and then going up to like 2008, it started covering more area, and then the last few years, there's been a really steep drop off in all the large earthquakes around it. And now, since late last year, there's almost no major activity any around the entire plate, which I just said was once super active. It once had huge earthquakes as a very normal occurrence. So it's very obvious. You can see the decline in earthquakes, their sizes, their frequency, everything around the Philippine plate, and now even Asia. If you check Asia, you'll notice that like from the Middle East down to Indonesia and then most of the Philippines, except some very peculiar points, but most all around that up to Japan. This whole area, you'll notice that big earthquakes are totally not showing up anymore like they normally should. It's getting more and more and more obvious that major earthquakes are not showing up at all. And this is an effect of the plates, because, like I said, the blocking made the plate stop moving, and earthquakes are formed from moving plates. So this is the evidence is as clear as it possibly could be that the plate motion has been severely and drastically reduced. So anyone can investigate the declines in earthquakes. The closer to the blocking location you look, the more obvious you can see that earthquakes have been in a decline. But by the way, the blocking I said, the blocking location I've identified is like due north of Australia, between the southern Philippines and northeastern Indonesia. So the evidence is wide open that earthquakes, their sizes and the frequency of the large events is in a huge decline. The blocking is very, very easy to spot. And also, and in addition to that, anyone can check my page on my blog site. I have a list of 8 predictions that I've already made, which are outstanding predictions I've made, which shows the skill I have. So that's that, and the Twitter account covers all the evidence that I could find of the blocking. So that pretty much covers covers everything that I can think of about
Great.
this blocking.
Yeah, thank you. I can tell you certainly have a passion for
Yeah.
this.
Yes, I do.
Um, Kirsty, do you have anything you'd like to say? Any questions or anything?
Any questions I would like to make?
Oh, well, I was asking the other host first, but it seems like they don't really have anything. So, yeah,
Oh,
sure. Any
okay.
questions that you have for us is also fine.
Uh,
If you don't have any, that's okay.
no, I didn't have any questions. No.
All
So
right,
so that so yeah.
that's
So
perfect.
that pretty much covers it. Yes.
Yeah, then I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed this interview.
Yeah. Yes. I found this whole thing interesting. It covered everything. It just makes it clear so people know about the whole thing. So thank you also very much. I was glad to do this interview.
Great. Well, then I'll send you a link once it's uploaded. And until next time, for all the viewers, catch you on the flip side.